This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with a huge daily wrestling news update for you. The lawsuit put on by the family of the Lassiter family, which is the kids, particularly the daughter of the man that WWE Hall of Famer Tammy Sitch killed in a DUI related uh, accident that she's now going to be in jail over 20 years for. There was a lawsuit related to the pain and suffering of the daughter, where they were strangely enough only asking for about 30,000, which seems low for a case where someone's actually died. It was supposed to go to trial on March 25th. However, the case has been settled. And this came up in my interview with Johnny Fairplay the other day, Survivor slash TNA star. He brought up that Chris Jericho once threatened to beat him up because he had questioned Van Hammer's wrestling ability. And I had told him during this interview that the last I had heard of Van Hammer was his 2020 arrest when he hit a 5-year-old kid who was on a bicycle while under the influence. It was a 5-year-old boy that he hit with his car. Apparently, he got off easy on that. He was only sentenced to 1 year probation, a 1 year suspension of his driver's license. And when he gets his driver's license back, he will need to have a interlock device placed in his vehicle for 1 year. He has stayed out of the public eye since this incident, and this was apparently a plea deal. In other wrestling news, TKO, although they took in, and this is the combined company of WWE and UFC, they put out some numbers yesterday. They took in a revenue of over 2.8 billion, but only had a profit of 6.4 million. And their revenue in the fourth quarter was down to 642 million. So not great numbers. Apparently, WWE actually they had a decrease of 32.9 million in revenue in the fourth quarter, but UFC had an increase in 61.1 million. So there's definitely less interest in wrestling, without question. I mean, they can bring it back with the Rock's appearances here and there and stuff, but overall, they're lucky that they're getting so much money from companies like Netflix and all these TV deals where they're actually being paid uh, for content, which wasn't the case in the past. Back in the 80s, you had to draw at the arenas to turn a profit. In fact, apparently, they also announced, TKO announced next year, there's going to be 3 Saudi Arabia shows where allegedly they get 55 million a show for coming to Saudi Arabia, but the Royal Rumble is also going to be in Saudi Arabia next year, which according to Dave Meltzer, they're going to be getting much more than 55 million to bring the Royal Rumble there. So there's all these revenue sources such as Saudi Arabia that never existed before, which adds to this massive amount of revenue they're bringing in, despite a product that, let's be frank here, is stale. Apparently, TKO, they also are going to be doing a boxing league that's going to be funded by Saudi Arabia, where there's going to be about 4 shows a year. Both Dana White and some people from WWE, such as Ari Emanuel, are going to be involved in this. As far as the main thing people have been talking about in AEW was the Extreme Botch, which I reviewed, which you can go to, the link is actually in the description. Last week, Thunder Rosa had a horrible botch in a match where pretty much everyone froze in the match. Dave Meltzer says this is basically, despite them making fortunes, they're all getting paid a fortune. They don't wrestle that much, so they're all inexperienced and they plan their matches. So when something goes wrong because they're not used to calling stuff on the fly, they completely freeze. And here, any old school fans going to agree with me on this. This was Thunder Rosa's response to the botch, and this, as an old school guy, is just disgusting. And Bill Watts, if he saw this, he would just want to puke. She says, "You guys saw what happened. From that, I have learned so much. The takeaways I have as a performer are always ask questions. Be sure of what you're doing in the segment. The segment did not go the way we wanted it to, and it showed. There is no drama. We were all talking before the show and praising each other. We're trying to be as positive as possible. I enjoy coming to work, and I'm not the only one. Statlander was so supportive and nice. We were all going over stuff and receiving feedback. It was all positive. There is nobody trying to kill each other and stuff. There is no point. How are we going to grow if we're fighting? Mistakes are made. It happens. We grow. We talk, and it was fine. The only good thing that could have come out of that stupid, horrible segment was to like create the illusion. At least you're basically just saying, oh, there's no heat, this is all a show, we praised each other after, everything was fine. The only thing you could have done out of this, and why people were interested in you, because you all are boring as hell. The best thing about it is the people that Thunder Rosa was involved with are actually good looking. I mean, that's the only interesting thing about any of those wrestlers to me. But the thing is, you had some real heat there that you could have built on and maybe made a feud that people would be interested in, because people were actually interested in an angle you were doing. And it was the only thing really that got in the news last week about AEW. And here you go, you throw water on the fire. We all praised each other. Everyone is supportive and nice. I hate modern wrestling. That just makes me want to puke. You're all spoiled brats. You are all just spoiled brats. And it's too bad people like Marty Jannetty never got to make the money you guys make for pretty much doing nothing. You're spoiled.